For more recipes, conversation, DIYs for kids, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video from Kidsstoppress.com. Hello, welcome to KSP TV. Today joining us we have Vibha Kagzi, who is the founder of ReachIB.com. She's also an HBS and a Carnegie Mellon alum. Welcome, Vibha.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me here. So moving from an international curriculum to the IIT, it's very different sensibilities, it's very different training, and the training starts as early as the 9th grade onwards. So if you're hell-bent and your mind is set on the IIT rigor, then for your 10th and 12th grade, we strongly recommend the domestic board, because at least the curriculum is in sync and the learning style is in sync. Typically what you'll see is people who are training for IIT, for the JEE exam, are not really studying in a mainstream big school.
Yeah.
They end up going to training centers and then they do their main degrees on the side, and then their focus is on the JEE. So they're just getting a 10 standard certification for the sake of having one. They don't go to like a big grand school. And that's fine, because IIT, they don't really care where you went to school. They're more focused on how you crack that one exam.
Right.
In terms of being able to crack the international schools at the postgraduate level from colleges that are not within these is tough. So as I said, you still can get in, but you're not going to be the main. So you're fighting for fewer seats.
Right.
At least at the very premium institutes. Then as you go, the minute you go from 0 to 5, you go down to the next chunk, then obviously they open up a lot more, because again you have the SRCC and the LSR and the IIT kids all vying for that absolutely premium, and then the competition sort of eases out as you go slightly lower down the list. And as I keep alluding to, it really boils down to understanding your child and understanding your child's orientation. If your child is a systematic, rote-based learner, then he's going to flourish within the IIT system. Because to get into the IIT system, you're going to go through a 4-year training period for that one exam that you spoke about. For that one day of examination, you need a 4-year preparation. Typically, students trying to crack these exams are paying less attention to their regular school curriculum, because when you apply to the IITs, they're not going to ask you for your grades in the 9th, 10th and 11th of your regular school curriculum. They're only focused on that one examination. So your school life takes a little bit of a backseat while your focus is on cracking that system. If you're gearing up your child for an international education, on the other hand, the universities are going to ask you to send transcripts of your 9th, 10th and 11th standard examinations every semester, every exam you ever had. So you've got to make sure your focus is on the academic curriculum that your school has provided. Now, the schools are also looking at the international level for the broad-based candidate. So in that case, you've got to balance your academic performance with all the other extracurricular elements, the curiosity, the dance, the debate, etc. If you're preparing for IIT, you don't have the time to nurture those talents, because it's such a rigorous exam, with under 1% acceptance rates. If you're not going to put in the effort and the hard work, someone else is going to take your seat. And you really don't need to put in the hard work, because the system doesn't reward the hard work put into the extracurricular. On the other hand, with the international curriculums, if you don't put in and invest the time in the extracurricular, and you only have, let's say, a perfect SAT score, you're not going to be able to crack an international institution, because they're not looking at only an academic profile. So they're two very, very divergent paths, and it's best to know which path you want to pursue early on enough, and then systematically pursue that path. Let's look at it both from the undergraduate perspective and the postgraduate perspective. So at the undergraduate level, so the United States world for Indian students compared to the rest of the world is the destination of preference. About 47% of students from India are actually studying in the United States. Why is that? Because the United States offers a flexible curriculum, it's interdisciplinary, it's just the sheer number of universities the United States has to offer. It's also the home of some degrees, so the MBA degree was invented in America. So America has this legacy of education. So broadly, America more interdisciplinary, more flexible, ability to double major in systems, etc. The United Kingdom, more rigid. The Indian system is a legacy of the British system,
right.
obviously. So it's more rigid, it's more structured. You cannot do interdisciplinary training. You cannot switch your major. And if you don't like a year in biochemistry, you can't at the end of a year say, oh, I don't really like this, I want to move to economics. The American system will give you that opportunity.
Right.
So for a lot of students who are undecided, we say, please go to America because you seem a little confused. Use that 1 year transition into the program and then see whether you like it and you can switch over. For students who are very focused, saying, okay, I want to spend 3 years studying economics at one of the best institutions in the world, we say, oh great, you should go to Oxford, Cambridge, an institution with legacy, with research facilities, with just a systematic way of teaching you economics the way it's been taught historically. So, but then you have to have that clear, sharp focus
right.
on the degree you want to study in. Singapore, on the other hand, very few universities. It's sort of like it's an island country. They have few emerging centers of excellence. More Indian and British based in their orientation. So still pretty rigorous academically, not very interdisciplinary. Canada is a great option for people who are very clear about working internationally. With Brexit and Trump and so much economic and political turbulence around the world. Canada has emerged as a safe haven for students who are very clear about wanting to pursue a career, professional career after their degrees outside of India. The Canadian government embraces immigrants, they really make employment opportunities easy. Once you graduate from a Canadian university, they give you open access to stay back in the country for anywhere from 3 years. After you finish those 3 years, you can apply for citizenship and they're welcoming. We have about 3 lakh students from India studying internationally. What is interesting to a lot of people is that the split is heavily skewed towards postgraduate study. So it's about 77% of this portion is postgraduate. So India is not an undergraduate study abroad market. I think it's mainly due to cultural reasons. We're not ready to let go of children at the age of 17. Cost is also a big factor. So if you want to do an undergraduate degree in the United States, at the undergraduate level, it's about $45,000 in tuition per year, which is about $180,000 over 4 years, which is the tenure of the program. That's serious money, right? So it's about a 1.6 crores investment purely in tuition. These numbers are obviously without factoring for scholarships or campus, working options, etc. So you can moderate that fee slightly. I'm just giving you absolute figures. And in the UK, you're setting yourself up for about $27,000 to $30,000 in annual tuition. But the British system allows you to complete your degree in 3 years because the curriculum, like the Indian system, after the 12th is a 3-year curriculum. So it's about $30,000 into 3, so it's $100,000 versus $180,000.
Right.
At the postgraduate level, as I was talking about this confluence of experiences, even the tuition fees is pretty standardized. We're looking at about $55,000 a year. So for a 2-year program, it's double of that. A lot of the European programs give you an option to finish in a year. So the INSEAD MBA is designed to be a 1-year program. The London Business School MBA is designed to be a full 2-year program, but they allow you to exit at the 15-month point or the 18-month point if you manage to complete your core curriculum early on enough. Whereas the American top schools like Stanford, Harvard and Wharton will not allow you to finish the program in a year and a half. If you've come to their institution, they want you to enjoy and experience the entire 2-year curriculum, and they have a very set programming that they're expecting their graduates to have. The European ones are a little more flexible, and etc. So there are obviously nuances to each school and each program, but broadly I would say the undergraduate experience is quite diverse in the different geographies, but the postgraduate experience is fairly standardized across different geographies. We get a range of parents across social strata coming to us. For some parents, even if we have a plan in place, they don't have the financial wherewithal or the means. They're not making adequate salary to be able to even fathom an education internationally. For some parents, they don't require the planning. They have enough money in the bank to take care of 3 children who might want to study abroad. So it's because of the diversity of the country we live in, right? You get like a real wide spectrum of students as well as parents. In terms of planning, the numbers we've seen sequentially every year, the tuition goes up anywhere from like 2 to 5% annually. So you have a base figure today. If your child is, let's say, 10 years old, they're going to go to college in 7 years. You can approximate what the tuition fee will be 7 years hence, and then start planning your finances backwards. There are lots of scholarships also available. There's lots of grants. If you crack a top school, like the Ivy League schools are also extremely generous in their funding and financing. What they're looking for really is merit-based scholarships. So if you're good enough to meet that threshold, they will figure out a way to finance your education. So from a parental perspective, I would say, it's best to keep your eyes on the figures. Early awareness is good, because a lot of times parents, their child will turn 16 or 17 and say, oh wow, we didn't realize it's going to cost 2 crore rupees for this child to go, or we can't afford it now. But like that number's always been out there.
Yeah.
So if studying abroad was in your broad purview, it's just nice to keep the figures in mind and always work backwards and manage your finances well enough to create a corpus. So I think like few tips for parents would be, one, my primary tip is, please do not superimpose your personal ambitions onto your child. Really recognize your child for who they are, and please don't try to pass on this personal legacy over to your child. The other point would be to ensure your child has the resources, if you can provide them, to navigate the process well. So if you have the financial wherewithal, please go visit the universities. Please encourage that the student really researches the colleges. If you have family members or people within your own personal networks as parents, please ensure you start exposing your child to these contacts and relatives, etc. from an early age onwards, and especially when they need to have those conversations, facilitate the conversations, because your child might not be either aware of a friend you had who went to a certain university, or might not be comfortable enough approaching someone who's much older to them. So I feel like if you can just be the facilitator, not necessarily be the person driving the conversation once you facilitate it, but literally just planning the introduction, or inviting someone home and saying you should talk to so and so, and they might give you a better perspective. So it's sort of leading them into something, but then leaving the student to do the rest of the work. Also, it's an extremely stressful process. So anyways, the student's going through a lot of pressure with competitive exams. When you're taking external examinations, plus managing your school's curriculum, plus balancing this healthy extracurricular portfolio that you're trying to also build, you need to really step back and understand the pressure that your child is going through, and be able to provide a supportive leg to whatever the stress that the child is going to, as opposed to imposing more pressure and more stress. It's a very tricky balance, because how much is enough and how much is too much. So like you want to ensure that your child is getting those grades, because they need those grades to get in, but you also want your child to be a national level swimmer, you also want your child to be playing chess at the district level, etc. So you really need to step back and understand what is it the child wants to do, and then just be the sort of support pillar as opposed to be the driver. The minute you move from the driver to support, you'll see a radical change in the child's behavior. Lastly, I would suggest being well informed as a parent is extremely critical. We see some parents who just say, oh, we don't know all this stuff because we didn't do this, and this is the reason we're coming to you, Reach Ivy. You guys should just take over. And sure, we're happy to take over, because that's our expertise and this is what you've come to us for. But we really encourage parents to also be self-informed, to also go to information sessions with the students to also understand, what is the difference between the SAT and the ACT and how do I pick subjects, etc. Just you can leave the ultimate decision to your child, but being able to also shoulder the conflict, to shoulder the confusion is really helpful, to have a guide or a friend in your parent, and both people can navigate the uncertainties together. It's definitely better than me having to navigate them for myself.
Right. Vibha, thank you so much for joining us today. We've had a fabulous session. I have learned so much as a parent, and I'm sure so many other parents are going to benefit from this conversation. So thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure having you here.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's a great opportunity for me to dispel a lot of myths that both students and parents have. So thanks for doing this.
Perfect.
Thanks.